Happy Monday. Welcome into Payoff Pitch. We are Action Network's MLB betting podcast. It is Monday, July 3rd. It's kind of a getaway day, but we're here. I'm very impressed that we're all here. Brendan Glasheen, Sean Zerillo, and BJ Cunningham. We've taken days off, but no day off for us today. Just get this out of the way. We're not here tomorrow for the 4th of July. So check the Action Network app for picks from all of our baseball folks. Really quick, Zerillo, you going to have an article tomorrow or no?
I will have an article. I might even, due to the lack of a Payoff Pitch episode, I might jump on a solo Twitter Spaces or something too, and just like run through the slate and get my thoughts on the game. So
that'd be lovely.
At Sean Zerillo on Twitter. I'll definitely have an article, but I'll either do a Twitter thread going through all 15 games, just to make sure I touch on everything for the holiday, or jump on a Twitter Spaces for like 20-25 minutes. So
holy overachiever. Wow. Love it.
It's a baseball betting holiday. I very much understand that people are going to want to bet all day tomorrow. I'm going to want to bet all day tomorrow. So I want to make sure people have the information to do that because it's a great day. So we'll throw out some round robins. We'll have some fun with it.
Okay, very good. Well, opening pitch is up for today as well. 10-game slate in baseball. BJ Cunningham, Sean Zerillo. Love that. Wow. Talk about setting a tone early in the holiday week. That's fantastic. Yes, please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. We appreciate you. So we are here Friday. We're here today, here Friday. No podcast tomorrow. And also stay tuned. Later in the week, we'll have details on our Home Run Derby and All-Star Game coverage on the Action Network podcast, which is not Payoff Pitch. On the Action Network podcast, we will discuss those details on Friday, and we'll push it out wherever we need to for you to get the details you need, folks, as the All-Star break is next week. So here we go. 10-game slate. We'll zip right through this thing. Zerillo, a best bet for July 3rd.
Yeah, not an article or not a bet. I wrote up an article last night because I was waiting for the market to open. This was about minus 250, the Twins in the first 5 innings. When it opened last night, saw minus 215 today. I made this line about minus 290. Curious to hear where BJ has it because I think Joe Ryan is one of the best starting pitchers in baseball. The fact that they have Ryan and Pablo Lopez, who are first and third amongst qualified pitchers in expected ERA, and they are now tied for first place and below 500 with the Cleveland Guardians, is pretty bad. The Twins have vastly underachieved. They just want to hand the Guardians the division. But Joe Ryan gives you an effective start every time out, and I project a substantial difference between him and his opponent. The one concern with the Twins is they are much better against righties than lefties. Their offense against lefties is rather pitiful. So not in their better split here, but do like the Twins quite a bit. As I said, projected closer to minus 300. Maybe the market taking a little dip after we won back-to-back bets on the Royals against the Dodgers, getting a little more respect there for the Royals. But yeah, definitely Twins first 5, my largest projected edge. And just always happy to back Joe Ryan in the first 5.
BJ, any thoughts on Ryan? Now, he is coming off a tough appearance against the Atlanta Braves. Just 3 innings, 9 hits, 6 runs. He left 5 home runs. That reads like a typo. But he was finding the zone often in that start. But other than that, he's pitched very well this year. I know Anthony DiBundo gave him out as a Cy Young pick at 30-1 earlier in the season on the podcast. Thoughts on Joe Ryan today in the Twins?
I mean, yeah, if you look at his last start against the best offense in Major League Baseball that's putting up just ungodly numbers right now, yeah, it probably looks bad, but then he gets to face one of the worst offenses in Major League Baseball. Yeah, Sean, I have that projected at minus 293, so I'm pretty high on that as well. It's just dependent on, I was reading a bit about Austin Cox. I don't know if he's, if you look through his minor league numbers, he has started quite a few games. He got 1 start against the Guardians in his last outing. He got only won about 3 2/3, but he got hit up pretty well for about 4 runs. So I'm not really sure how long the Royals want to use him in this type of scenario. But, the Royals just lost one of their best arms and Aroldis Chapman, who got traded to the Rangers. So, yeah, I'll probably be joining Sean on the Twins first 5. But my best bet is the Cardinals and Marlins over 8 runs at minus 115. Michaelis is going to be starting for the Cardinals, and he has not been good this season. I mean, he's got a 4.4 ERA. Expected ERA is up at 5.24. He's never been a swing and miss type pitcher. Like his K per 9 rate has always been consistently between 6 or 7 or someone there. He's a ground ball pitcher. Like he's a sinker fastball type pitcher down in the zone. It's always been somewhere above 50%. Now he's at 37% for the season. So you can see why his expected metrics are skyrocketing when he can't keep the ball down in the zone and keep the ball off the hitter's barrel. His stuff plus is just 89 this season. That's 9th worst among qualified starting pitchers. But his location plus is 107. So he's hitting the zone he just has terrible stuff and people are hitting him. So, you know, and if you look at the Cardinals bullpen, they're very below average as well, 18th in xFIP and stuff plus. Braxton Garrett has been one of the most profitable starting pitchers in Major League Baseball this season. But if you look at his expected metrics, like he's a very average Major League starting pitcher, 4.14 expected ERA, 318 expected weighted on base average allowed. And then if you dig into his StatCast numbers, it starts to get a little more concerning. 46% hard hit rate allowed, 12th percentile for average exit velocity allowed, 35th percentile for barrel rate allowed. The Cardinals have been above average against lefties this season, and Braxton is mainly a sinker ball pitcher. The Cardinals against left-handed sinkers this season have a 424 expected weighted on base average and a plus 11.6 run value. So I think the total is a tad too low here. I'm projecting 8.9 runs. So I like over 8 runs in Cardinals Marlins.
All righty, very good. I wanted to add one more note on Joe Ryan. He actually faced the Royals opening day. His first start of the year was April 2nd, and 6 innings of 1 run ball, 3 hits, walked just 2, struck out 6. And that's really when the Joe Ryan story began for 2023. If we're getting to that time of the year now where teams will finally start facing each other more than once, outside of your division, of course. So there you go. Twins and Royals today, and BJ likes Cardinals, Marlins over. All right, let's find out if we're going to fade the public on this Monday. So a lot of different choices when we do this segment. We decided to go to the Milwaukee Brewers, who are part of an earlier game today. There are 2 early games at 2 Eastern. You have Houston and Texas, then Chicago and Milwaukee. That is the featured MLB on ESPN Plus game today. Brewers are getting 73% of the bets, 84% of the cash. They're at minus 105 at BetMGM. Julio Teheran is on the mound. Drew Smyly for the Cubs. Zerillo, you are betting on the Brewers. Any concern with the love from the people?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm surprised this many people are back in Julio Teheran. He actually got hit really hard in his last start. Gave up, I believe, 4 homers, 7 runs. But his expected ERA is still pretty comparable to what Drew Smyly has posted this season. Both of these guys have good expected ERAs, sub-4 expected ERAs, but their pitching model expected ERA is closer to 5. So the stuff plus, location plus, has them closer to replacement level pitchers, number 5 starters, whereas their expected ERAs say that they're both number 3 type starters. Now, looking at like bigger picture stuff outside of the results from this year, how I'd project both these guys out the rest of the way, even though Teheran has slightly better pitching plus numbers, pitch modeling numbers than Smyly, I think Drew Smyly is the better starter. I just think he has more well-rounded profile. He's able to get a few more strikeouts, slightly more effective overall. But in terms of how I project them, the difference isn't substantial. And with Milwaukee being at home, the offenses being relatively similar, the bullpens not having huge differentials between them, this basically just comes down to home field advantage. I made the Brewers minus 110. Made the Brewers minus 120. We bet them up to minus 110. You can get even money right now. So about 10-cent differential. Nice little edge on the Brewers. But I also like the under here, under 9 to minus 118 or under 8.5 at even money. Just a number that I think is higher than the market. So nothing, particular in terms of like huge analysis edge that I see. Just think the Brewers should be given a little more respect. And I think the total's attached too high for 2 starters whose, as I said, pitching modeling metrics are awful, but both generate a good amount of weak contact. So I think they can saw off some bats with some cutters and keep the ball in the air.
BJ, you like the Cubs today to go against the people, or are you also backing Milwaukee in some capacity? Teheran has been impressive since the end of May.
Every time I see Julio Teheran, I'm like, what year is it? Especially facing Smyly. So what is this, 2014? Like, how are these guys?
Just real quick, Teheran was in AAA in April, right? Is that right?
Every time I see him pop up, I'm just like, what year?
He was in independent ball last year too. I believe he pitched in the Atlantic League, the Mexican League. So he jumped around and made his way back to the big leagues, which I think is actually pretty cool. Like BJ saying, like, what year is it? I think it's actually cool when these guys, seemingly lose their major league job and then take this circuitous route going through the Staten Island Ferry Hawks in the Atlantic League, going through Toros de Tijuana in the Mexican League. Like that's kind of a cool path for Julio Teheran, a former All-Star, I believe, to get back to the big league. So dedication to his craft, love of the game. I think that's kind of cool.
Oh yeah, he was with the Braves. He was the Braves' #1 guy for a long time there in Atlanta.
Anyway, he was a guy who would like consistently have not great strikeout rates, but would get a ton of weak contact. and outperform his underlying metrics. He's done this forever. So I don't know why people are surprised it's happening again.
Two-time All-Star Julio Teheran.
Yeah.
2016, 2014.
Fifth
Good,
and rookie
BJ.
of the year, too. He's a solid guy.
Yeah. No,
Go
I
ahead,
have the
BJ,
Cubs
sorry.
at minus. You're fine. I have the Cubs at minus 107 and the total at 9.2. So this is not a projection edge here for me. So I just echo everything that Sean has kind of said. That both these pitchers, like you said, pitching models say that they're getting shelled, but hey, good for Julio Teheran, who's still sticking around.
Well, all that
You want to, the quick measurement for guy is typically able to outpitch his metrics or guy typically underperforms his metrics. Look at his ERA, look at his expected ERA or expected FIP and compare them. Julio Teheran, career 3.78 ERA, career 4.44 expected FIP, has outperformed it by over half a run for his entire career. Shane Bieber, the same way. There's a lot of guys you can find who outperform that expected FIP number by half a run over the course of their career. Those are your weak contact guys.
On to our favorite underdog of the day. We have a consensus underdog on this 10-game slate on July 3rd. And you're both going to the Guardians from Cleveland. Cirillo, explain. The Guardians at plus 130.
Yeah, this is scary. We just talked about Joe Ryan getting lit up by the Braves. The Braves, since June 1st, I can't believe this. I couldn't believe this when I pulled it up last night. They have 63 home runs in 26 games. Ridiculous. Next closest team is 48, but they're hitting 306 with a 370 on base and a 573 slugging percentage as a team since June 1st. So they have an OPS of 940 as a team over the past month. That's insane. That is like, they're all hitting like Ronald Acuna, basically. Their whole team is hitting like Acuna. So yeah, it's come down to the starting pitching matchup here. We've talked about Bryce Elder a ton on this podcast. I don't want to beat it into the ground, but even in his last start, he lit up a bunch of base runners, got out of every inning. He's the king of stranding runners so far. His strand rate is nearly 85%. Major league average is 71.7%. So his strand rate is 13% higher than the big league average. He is, in terms of pitching plus metrics, 4 points below average, 96 pitching plus, 74 stuff plus. I don't think stuff plus sees him with a single above average pitch. And Gavin Williams is a guy I really like for the Guardians. He cooks. Incredible fastball, locates it up and down in the zone, which you love to see. Can hit the corners too. Paints everywhere. 34% strikeout rate between AA and AAA this season. Former first-round pick, so comes with a ton of pedigree too. So I just give the Guardians the starting pitching advantage here. Again, I don't think Elder's bad. I really don't. I think he's a number 3 starter, but he's pitching like a number 1 right now. He's a 2.44 ERA. I think if he adds strikeouts at some point in the future, he could be a number 1 starter. Absolutely. But right now he's not. So yeah, just starting pitching advantage for the Guardians. It's really tough to go against the Braves right now because they hit 3 home runs in the first inning of every game and you're immediately down 3-0. And I'm often not watching the game. I'm watching other games and I see the little black box with the score and the little graph for like which runners are on base. And I see 1-0 Atlanta, 2-0 Atlanta, and neither of the out dots are filled in. And I'm like, oh, they just hit 2 solo home runs to start the game. Of course they did. That's just what they do. The Braves every day now just hit 2 solo home runs. So yeah, they're really frustrating to bet against at this point. But at some point they're going to lose. Hopefully it's today. Guardians plus 130 or better would be where I'd bet it. Made it about plus 120.
Elder's last 2 starts, he was at Philadelphia, June 22nd. Phillies left 7 men on base. Twins, June 27th, they left 9 on base.
And, the Guardians, a team who puts the ball in play. So,
yeah,
maybe they're the team who can finally, poke some singles against them with guys on base, but they have no power. So they're at an extreme power disadvantage here against the Braves. I talk about that anytime Cleveland plays the Yankees when Judge is healthy. It's hard for the Guardians to beat the Yankees because they're at such a big power discrepancy. It's kind of a similar thing against the Braves. If they get out homered, it's unlikely the Guardians win. So they gotta keep the Braves in the ballpark.
This is reeking of a cash the idea bet as opposed to cashing the bet.
Sure. The Braves are too good, man. I have preseason futures on the Braves. They were my number 1 preseason futures team. I'm going to end up losing as much money on the Braves during the season as I would win, when they win the World Series, presumably. So it's not fun betting against them all the time. But
I'm already seeing it. Matt Mitchell, 5 units on Cleveland money line, 2.75 units
minus
on
1.5
Cleveland
runs.
Reverse run line. Yep,
Yep.
you nailed it.
There you go.
Love you, Mitchell. Talk to you later this week. Go ahead, BJ. You got a thought on the Guardians here?
Yeah, I agree. I have the Braves only at -112. So projecting a little bit of value here on the Guardians. And I mean, the thing is, I mean, Sean hit the nail on the head. It's like, okay, going against the Braves lineup sucks every single week, but Cleveland's offense has improved. Like since the beginning of June, they have a 330 weighted on base average and 111 weighted run created plus. That's 8th in Major League Baseball. When from April to May, they were near the bottom of baseball in both those categories. And like Sean said about Gavin Williams, he had really good AAA numbers. He had 120 stuff plus in AAA. Like Sean said, he's got a great fastball that can hit triple digits. When he was at East Carolina, he had the 5th highest K per 9 rate in college baseball. And he continued that through the minors with really high strikeout rates. You know, small sample size of 2 starts, but 2.7 expected ERA is very, very encouraging. So I agree with Sean. I think the Guardians have a starting pitching matchup. Their offense has improved. It sucks going against the Braves offense, but I think there's some value on the Guardians tonight. So I like them at +138.
And if you remember, the Guardians were okay against righties last year. They were awful against lefties, but they were actually 11th against righties, 104 WRC plus. I want to see where their slugging percentage ranked, because that would be pretty determinative of how lucky. Yeah, they were 14th in slugging against righties too. So the Guardians are capable of being a league average offense against righties. They've just been awful against both types of pitching this year. But yeah, I think the improvements are somewhat legitimate. So there's a reason I bet Cleveland to win the AL Central coming into the season. They're below 500, but currently tied for the division. I like the fact that they have a chance to get back to 500 today. A little bit of motivation there and a chance to get sole possession of first place. So who knows? Not a spot I'm betting because of that, but I definitely like that's on our side today.
Cleveland and Atlanta, 7:00 start tonight. Guardians are home against Bryce Elder of the Braves.
Fun game. Gavin Williams is really fun, so I'm looking forward to watching that one.
You both have a couple more. Zerillo's got an angle on Houston and Texas. It's also an early game. And speaking of underdogs, and I would not dare to try and give deep analytical thoughts on this, but Zerillo, I saw that the Giants are going back home after playing Sunday Night Baseball and are playing the Mariners, and the Mariners are also a dog today. So that jumped out to me as well in your article.
Yeah, that's a really good observation, Brendan. Honestly, I didn't even think about that. The fact that the Giants had to jump on a plane after playing Sunday Night Baseball. And I've seen other people talk about fading the teams coming off of Sunday Night Baseball. And it's actually been, or at least it was earlier in the season, profitable. I want to go back. We have ways of filtering for that in Bet Labs based on time of game played and then game the following day. So I actually want to see if there is something
it depends if you play, obviously. Like the Mets aren't playing today.
100%. Yes. Yeah. No, it's fading teams on Monday. I should be specific, coming off of Sunday Night Baseball. Yeah, had to jump on a plane. So dealing with the jet lag, dealing with body clock time, going back to San Francisco. This line I made +116 last night, was able to grab a +128. It was off market. The highest number out there at the time was +120. That's the highest number out there right now. One book put up a +128. They must have gotten some big bets in on the Giants, which surprised me, and they left liability open for people to buy back on the Mariners. So if this gets up to +124, +125 or better, absolutely think you can bet Seattle, regardless of the rest spot for the Giants. But Brennan makes a really good point. That's a tough spot to play a Sunday night game, lose, get back on a plane, go home and face a team that was staying on the West Coast, right? The Mariners
were just home against Tampa. So they're staying right over there. Yep. Yeah,
that's a much easier travel spot, obviously, for the Mariners. So yeah, I mean, if I was to give a 1% bump to the Mariners off of the rest travel, whatever, yeah, it's in range at +120. So I think you can justify it there. Sure. I like I said, I'd make it +124 is where I'd bet it, just accounting for the pure projection. But yeah, if you want to give a 0.5%, 1% edge to the Mariners for travel, I think that's justifiable.
Yeah, it's not quite the London jet lag, but
no, but it's something. There's something there.
You've got Rangers and Astros under today as well.
Yeah, the under 9.5. You could take that to -120. You could also take the under 9 at even money. Both should be available right now. I projected that at 8.7. I have been betting the unders at Globe Life Park pretty much all week between the Rangers and the Astros, and they keep getting there by about a run, which has been stressful but fun. But yeah, Globe Life Park with the roof closed plays about 7% below the major league average. And these totals, I feel like, keep opening as though they're lined for the roof to be open or for a weather neutral stadium when in fact the stadium should play a few percentage points below average. So made this 8.7. Again, under 9.5 hit -120, under 9 at even money. BJ, curious where you have that number.
Well, I actually already played the Rangers and Astros over 8.5 last night. I had it at 9.2, so I bet it. And
you go for the middle.
Yeah, so maybe we can find a middle spot here tonight. No, I mean Christian Javier, I don't know what to make of him anymore. Like it's just he had unreal stuff plus numbers last year, and everything has just completely dropped off with his fastball and his slider. So facing one of the best lineups in baseball is concerning for him. And then, you look at Martin Perez, who's been below average this season, 4.88 expected ERA, one of the lowest K/9 rates among qualified starting pitchers. So, just a simple projection edge for me. And obviously the total has been pushed up a run here. So yeah, maybe I'll get him a nice little middle spot, and this will land on exactly 9 runs. And then I also like the under 9 in Royals Twins, which we already talked about. Again, I don't know how long Austin Cox is going to go, but like Sean said, the Twins are much worse against left-handed pitching than they are against righties. The Royals are one of the worst offenses in baseball going against the great Joe Ryan. So projecting 8.2 runs. So I like under 9.
All right, fellas.
The Twins kept playing under. Sorry to interrupt. I feel like the Twins and Orioles had really good over weather in Baltimore. I was betting the overs there all weekend, and they kept going under. So I'm not sure what happened there either. If the Twins offense is in a lull, both offenses in a lull, or what. But yeah, those were some surprising low-scoring games in Baltimore.
All right, I think that's it. You can find both BJ Cunningham and Sean Zerillo in the Action app. Because I say that because tomorrow we don't have a podcast, and if Zerillo does deliver on his Twitter Spaces thing, that'd be great. There are 10 games that start before 4:35 tomorrow. So there is a lot of day baseball that you all probably want to consider. Oh, I'm seeing here Patrick Corbin on the mound for the Nationals tomorrow to get the day started at 11:05. Cincinnati has not announced a starter. Cincinnati, Washington gets the day started at 11:05 Eastern. So find those guys in the app. All of our other baseball contributors, I'm guessing they'll be awfully active. But that is going to do it for our Monday edition of Payoff Pitch, July 3rd. Thanks to BJ, Sean Zerillo, Brendan Glasheen. Signing off. Thanks for listening to Payoff Pitch, Action Network's MLB betting podcast. We are back on Friday. Talk to you then.